All right, welcome to the January 27th Arborist call. The format, for those that might be watching this later or don't know, we just kind of have a very casual welcome and intro, and then we do some note updates from Zcashd, Zcashd, and then we'll be expanding this section to include other protocol teams to just kind of give us a status update on how they're progressing. And then we have a general discussion period. NU5 has occupied the bulk of that time for quite a while. So we'll kind of do a status update on that, timeline, review the timeline, the content of NU5 for, again, those that might not be familiar. And then we'll have, I'm sure we'll have time for kind of an open discussion, anything anyone would like to bring up. We don't really wrap up at the end per se. We encourage like questions and comments throughout, just keep it much more interactive. It's a much more fun discussion that way. Arborist calls are where we talk about protocol. So the scope is at this point is limited to protocol. Again, as we have more teams and the Zcash kind of ecosystem expands, we'll be looking to pull those protocol teams in. UX teams that are dependent on protocol features. We've always thought it was really great to get that UX perspective on the protocol. So we'll be looking to bring some additional folks in, but the main focus here is protocol. And it's to, again, make it more accessible and more transparent for the community, but again, to get other folks engaged in protocol development. We've got an incredible grant program with ZONG, and we encourage folks to look for ways to contribute to Zcash through that. Anyone can participate if you're interested in protocol development. If there's something you want to present, just let me know, Steven@electriccoin.co, or if there's something that you would like discussed. You don't even have to participate in the discussion, but if you'd like it discussed, we'd be more than happy to add it to the agenda and talk about it at some point. Yeah, so that's it. So then next we'll kind of go to the Zcashd, the status updates. So do you want to share your screen? I can pause sharing.
No, doesn't need. Just
Okay,
talk
all right.
about
I'll
it.
just leave this one up then.
Sure. So hi everyone. So the last 2 weeks, we've been working on doing my work for the stable. Our final goal is the stable Zebra release. In the last 2 weeks, we just released the beta 4 version of Zebra, and the biggest change is that we have fixed some two issues. The first one is that Zebra was a little bit slow when syncing, and the other one was Zebra would sometimes hang and just stop syncing or doing anything else. So we seem to have identified this issue. Janito did a great job of identifying the issue and fixing it. So yeah, it seems to sync very well now. And to the best of knowledge, we are now implementing all the consensus rules. The last one was the interstitial sprout validation that we fixed it. And now we're going over all consensus rules one by one to double check if we have really implemented, and pointing in the documentation where they are implemented if we haven't done yet for that particular rule. And other than that, now what's left is a bunch of issues, a few security issues, some issues related to stability, a lot of documentation issues, so that we maybe in I think final March, at the end of March, we'll have a stable release of Zebra that is able to be audited. So that's it.
Okay, cool. What is your, when you say audited, you mean like implementation audit type review by external parties?
Yes.
Okay.
We're planning to hire some company to do audit of Zebra code base, mostly the consensus rules, but I think also the networking too. We already had an audit by Equilibrium, but I think maybe we have another one since we had a lot of changes since then.
Very good.
It's probably worth mentioning that that as well as implementing all the existing consensus rules, Zebra is NU5 ready with the modulo the changes that are blocked weighted, things like the activation heights and final versions of the libraries and stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
So
very good.
Yeah. So hence it seems to make sense to cut a stable release at this point, get it audited, so that people can run it, being confident that it's stable, that it's secure, and that in doing so they can help maintain the Zcash network using it. And obviously, we need to then start working on adding more functionality that actually makes it useful for interacting with the network in terms of sending transactions and whatnot.
Right.
But in terms of implementing a validating node, we are very close to having something that will be audited and people can have confidence in.
Nice. Very good.
As far as the consensus part of the audit goes, how deep into the stack is it planning on reviewing? Like as far as down into the dependencies and things. I'm just thinking from terms of like interaction with like where the dependencies tie into ones that we are working on collaboratively, or where you depend on stuff that ECC is building, just for coordination purposes.
Well, I think given stuff like Libros Zcash and so on has already been audited, so I wouldn't plan to include that within the scope of the audit. We would really want to focus purely on the actual Zebra specific code.
Yep.
Okay, so you'll treat, for example, like the orchard crate as the boundary there, and in the same way, like it's the dependency that we had audited, and then we've addressed those and done that, and then this is then the dependency that we're relying on for Zcashd, and you're relying on for Zebra, and so your audit will start from that point. Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's always a possibility that the auditors might need to dig into dependencies.
Yeah. So yeah, if there needs to be coordination on that point, like I'm happy to help out there in terms of providing context or helping onboard auditors into parts they want to figure out. But it sounds like that's not going to be their main focus, so hopefully not too much of that will be needed.
No, thank you, but yeah, hopefully not too much. But it's good to I also just want to acknowledge the help that the ECC engineering team has provided to the foundation engineering team. Really good working relationship, and very collaborative, very very helpful. So I really want to acknowledge that this isn't something that just happened in isolation in a clean room. There's a lot of help, and I think I'd like to think that as well, that there was a feedback loop there where in the course of building Zebra, it has already, I think, benefited Zcash by identifying some issues and whatnot. So yeah, I think it just really illustrates the benefit that comes from having a second effectively from scratch node implementation.
I agree.
Agreed. Yeah, we've worked through a few things exactly. And it's been and just I would like to echo kind of the same thing. Like it's a pleasure working with the foundation engineers. Like that's a really, and I'm gonna just again kind of a shout out to Hudson for setting up that R&D Discord back in the day. I mean, I say back in the day, like last year. Kind of feels in the crypto world that feels back in the day, right? Like last year feels back in the day in crypto.
It's like dog years.
Yeah, crypto years, right? But yeah, that's been like phenomenal. It's just a really great place to collaborate across a bunch of different topics. So yeah,
excellent coordination point, and it's also, I think, like we're seeing more activity there in general, which is a good sign, not just from people within ECC and ZF, but sort of others in the community wanting to do other bits and pieces regarding that, both from within Zcash specifically, and then like I've started sort of like getting more people in around Halo 2 and that, and so we're starting to get those populating in there. So I think it's growing in the way that I hoped it would.
Yeah,
which is fantastic.
Right. Cool. All right. Very good. Well, thank you. We'll move on. So the Zcashd update is really kind of I lost a slide in there somewhere. But anyway, Zcashd is basically in U5 at this point. That's what our focus has been obviously exclusively. So we just kind of we don't have a separate node update. We just kind of hop into Indy 5, start talking about that. Before we get into the kind of the typical schedule slides and things, we couple of updates wanted to provide. One, Strad, we were discussing earlier this morning some of the kind of the script related changes that the foundation, you've been working with the foundation on. So.
Yeah, we had discussion about that yesterday in the tail end of the ZipSync meeting, because we had a nice overlap with the team there in terms of what people were thinking about. So yeah, the current coordination points there are, and it should be easy to bring up the DAG, I think. So if
you want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop sharing then.
Yeah. Unlike in a meet, I can't just like share over the top of you.
Right. Yeah.
I need to, okay, make sure I get the right window. Yes, it's that one. Okay. So the main coordination point at the moment, well, there's two of them between Zcashd and Zebra, is the fact that the ZebraD base uses the Bitcoin scripting engine from Zcashd. And so where that is represented in this DAG, if I can find it, because I just re-rendered it. Here we go. So yeah, Corrado, you've opened your PR to adjust the script interface. That is blocking on getting our zip244 changes in, which is relevant for it, which it's in turn due to an unfortunate way in which some PRs were merged into the Rust code in order, is blocking on getting our unified address support into Zcashd, because otherwise trying to rectify the Rust dependencies is a bit nightmarish. So we're currently focused on getting the remainder of this UA support in, which is this block piece here. And once we have that in, then we'll have the zip244 changes landing into the NU5 consensus branch. And then post that, we can get the changes to the Zcash script library interface in. And then that is what then will allow Zebra to go and pull that into their library and ensure that what we've provided actually works for you. And you can do that independently of updating the Orchard dependency, but effectively, once you pull in that dependency, you can pretty much upgrade to Orchard at the same time, modulo the activation height and consensus branch ID and stuff, because that will be what's happening in Zcashd over here. Once we get the zip244 changes in, pretty much the next thing in that branch will be pull in the new version of the Orchard crate with the various updates and things, and the defining the new consensus branch ID and zeroing out the activation heights at least at that point, and then we'll set them just before we merge it into Zcashd main for 470 for testnet. So I think it will be probably actually, now that I think about it, it'll be easier for you pulling in Zcash script if you hold off until we've pulled the Orchard crate in. So I'll try and do that in parallel with getting the Zcash script APIs in, because there are some changes to the Orchard crates API as a result of underlying changes to the Halo 2 repo that we'll need to handle. In particular, which that reminds me of, the verification APIs for Halo 2 are being slightly adjusted. We actually, as a result of our conversation with ZipSync yesterday, we had another look at the way that the randomness was being handled by verification, which you recall us discussing yesterday. For those on the call, the way we were handling randomness for verifications, single proof verification doesn't need randomness, but if you're doing batch validation, you need randomness to separate the proofs to ensure that they don't interact with each other. And we were, with the old API, we were doing that internal to the same validation interface, and you could just use it for single or batch. But that added an unnecessary dependency on randomness for single verification. So we sat down and reworked the APIs, and they're now much cleaner. And in fact, we now have a dedicated batch validation API, which you might be able to start pulling in if you want. I don't know if I'll have time to use it for 470 and Zcashd, but we'll probably start using it as well at some point. versus we'll just use the single validation API for doing mempool things. And so that will come in along with this 5385, this bringing in the Orchard APIs. So yeah, they will probably need to happen in tandem. And I expect probably next week, I think will be early next week is when that will be in a situation for you to be able to pull in terms of the way things are coordinating.
Cool. All right, thank you. And you want to discuss the Halo 2 crate restructure? Because
yes, yeah, we haven't mentioned that in here yet. I think. So yeah, the Halo 2 crate currently. The published beta of it contains all the Halo 2 proofs and circuit building logic and everything. We're moving that into the Halo 2 proofs crate so that the Halo 2 crate can be where recursion lives. And there'll also be a secondary Halo 2 gadgets crate that is where the reusable gadgets that we developed for Orchard, but are also needed for recursion, and anyone else who wants to do like ECC arithmetic with Halo 2 will need. All of that's going to move into there. So that will be occurring as part of the next Orchard beta. It will be depending on Halo 2 proofs instead of Halo 2. So there will be the updates I just mentioned to the Halo 2 API. Those updates are just, you also need to rename Halo 2 to Halo 2 proofs, which for Orchard I've just done I've kept it as Halo 2 all through the Orchard code base, and I've just renamed the package Halo 2 proofs to Halo 2 because I can't be, it's going to be fun to pull that in. And so I'm going to delay that a little bit. But I will do that probably after 4.7.0.
Cool. All right, very good.
We might want to schedule a kind of a sync up with Deirdre and Ortior.
Yeah, we had a bit of a discussion with them at ZipSync yesterday, so they are somewhat aware of this, but probably next week, mid next week will be a good time to have a discussion with them if they, just to clarify things, because I think by then we'll have everything in order that that they will need to be able to pull in.
Cool. All right, very good. And then let's see, I think we also want to just kind of provide an update from Sean and Dara on the security proof review with Mary Mahler.
Yep. Yeah. So update on that. So Mary, because of the holidays and stuff, had to delay when she was going to start looking at the protocol and proofs and stuff to the 17th. So she's been looking at it for the last 10 days or so. And next week, we're going to have a check-in. We had a check-in yesterday, I think, and went over some of the comments that she had and notes that she had for improvements. She hasn't found any like security issues or anything like that, but we've just been gradually improving the text and the write-up and the analysis. So her comments are just really, really great, and so it's getting much better. And hopefully next week we'll have more feedback from her, and then hopefully
there was a little bit of hand waving in the existing proof that she pulled us up on, and that was a good comment.
Yep. So hopefully barring there being some sort of like major thing that we have to modify or some bug or something, hopefully that analysis will be almost wrapped up then end of next week. So I'm not sure exactly when, but that's roughly in line with what we're hoping. So
yeah, no, that's right. It just the proof is get like a gating factor for 5.0.0, like we want that reviewed and done. So yeah, that timeline seems to line up pretty well. Okay. Anything else the team you want to update on progress on 4.7? I think those were kind of the major items we wanted to kind of highlight. I don't know if I missed anything.
Yeah, as far as the rest of Zcashd goes, it's just there's still a fair bit of work to get 4.7.0 ready, but the DAG is well set up to guiding us through it. And in fact, I'm just re-rendering the public version, so if people want to keep an eye on it, they can. Here, I'll just post it in chat.
Okay.
Where's the chat link gone?
Should be very bottom.
Yeah. So that's updated. So that reflects the current status of Zcashd work.
Okay. All right, I'm going to pull my slide deck back up and keep going. Yeah. All right. Yeah, just again, for sake of completeness, this is NU5, the net new zips. These are modified zips. And again, changes just to reflect, the presence of a new shielded pool for the most part, if you kind of wanted to summarize some of those changes. Timeline wise, this is our timeline. I'm going to close the participant window so I can see. We are roughly in here. 470, we're looking early Feb. We'll reactivate testnet, so a testnet rollback at that point. 500 will follow afterwards. 510 after that, all the 4.6, 4.7 releases will EOS halt right before, about a week before NU5 activation. With 500, 510, we'll have 2 releases in the field at the time it activates that are consensus compatible. So yeah, so that's kind of the schedule from a Zcashd like release perspective. This is kind of the same view, if you will, just the basic blocks of the overall NU5 progress in terms of things. So testnet reactivation, 500 release, and then NU5 activation, I think April 18th, right in there somewhere. But anyway, effectively mid-April. Let's see. And I think that, yeah, so that's all the, kind of prepared slides, if you will. Let's see. I think that's probably something Strad posted in chat. Yeah, very good. All right. Yeah, so that covers what we, had on our kind of topic list for NU5. Anything else anyone wants to discuss or questions about any of that, about ZBRD, Zcashd, or NU5 and progress there?
Whilst we're waiting to see if anybody posts any questions in chat, just wanted to, I've already mentioned this to you, Stephen, but just for the benefit of other people on the call, there were some questions about what was going to happen with ZWallet and NU5,
right? And
because in case anybody isn't aware, Aditya, who created and maintains ZWallet, has decided to step back from working on it full time and is now exploring the DeFi space. So which is obviously very, very sad, but for the time being, he is maintaining ZWallet. The ZWallet is ready for NU5.
Okay.
So he carried out that work as part of a grant that he got from ZOMG. So it's really just a case of when it becomes time, he can just effectively switch on that functionality. So yeah, so there's no concern about it suddenly becoming not stop working for loads of people in the near future. In the longer term, there is a question about how it will be updated for future network upgrades. Right. Hopefully we'll start to see the Kedit work progress as soon as they've all recovered from COVID.
Right. Yeah.
So that support for NU5, is that just the support for consensus changes and changes in APIs, or is it including?
I believe
unified
it includes unified addresses.
Okay.
I believe it does.
Yeah,
but it's worth pinging him directly on that.
Right.
Yeah, we will probably want to do, once 470 is out, we will want to verify that that everything lines up. I presume that means he's been keeping track of the API changes we've been making, particularly in our feature branch. But yeah, what goes into 470 will be the supported APIs that he will be able to use.
That was my question, is when we're speaking about ZWallet, are we speaking about the ZWallet full node implementation or the light wallet implementation? Because
yes, that
I believe both, but again, so we can ask these questions on this call, but ultimately I think if people do have questions, they should they should message Aditya directly
Okay.
about this stuff.
Okay.
We'll definitely, let him know the release is out, things of that nature. And of course, when we put out a release notice, it includes like, these APIs change, these APIs are new. So it's got pretty much everyone, everything we need, but then we can also ping him just to make sure that he saw the release.
Yeah.
So the scope of the grant, if there were API changes that needed to be taken into account, would the scope of the grant include those?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, and that code's all, obviously the source code's out there, right? Under Zcash Foundation, GitHub somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we will, we're looking at, we're having to think about how best to maintain Zec Wallet going forward. There's been some discussion on the forums about furthering decentralization by having somebody else come in to pick that up. So our kind of initial thought was, well, let's issue an RFP to see if another team wants to come in and maintain it. But I think the new ZMG committee are having a think about that as well. Whether it makes sense in the interest of decentralization for them to take that to kind of issue that RFP and thereby it may look better for it to be entirely independent of the Zcash Foundation. But evolving situation. But I think the main thing is to the main message takeaway is that it's not in danger of just stopping working when NU5. There has been work done to update it for that.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, we'll make sure that he, stays aware of developments like in 4.7.0, and we can reach out directly. And a number of us use Zec Wallet, both versions anyway, so we can follow the progress along directly. All right. I don't see any questions in chat. Was there anything else anyone wanted to discuss or bring up? Nope, doesn't look like it. Well, our team can definitely use the time back, and I'm sure the foundation can too, and other folks on the call. So unless there's anything else, we will absolutely wrap it up. We've got lots to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we can coordinate in Node Dev in the Discord to figure out a time for next week, next week, to coordinate on the dependency updates, and probably also that will be a good time to look at the potential test and activation heights. But the main thing will be the dependency integration between the two, because we want to make sure that ZF has time to pull that in and check that this, in particular, Zcash script works before we cut 4.7.0. Cool.
All right. Well, everyone have a good rest of the day, and catch up in Discord, and then talk to you later.
Bye.
Have a good day.
See ya.